All right. Had a good open week. No doubt it came at the right time for us after a tough 5-game stretch there, and really with a lot of just kind of some of the injuries. And it's not just the guys that have been held out of games. It's a lot of those guys that have been playing, especially defensively, where we don't have as many subs that we've been playing. Some of those guys kind of get beat up in some physical games there the first 5 weeks. So I think this came at the right time, and really our goal for the open week, number one, is to know it's an open week, not an off week. That was the first message to our guys is we got a lot of work to do, but we're going to find the right balance in getting back and getting on the field to take some time to correct some of the mistakes and things, some areas that we need to really focus on, and we did that. And I think also as a coaching staff, taking some time last week to kind of reevaluate everything that we've done, the good and the bad, and also kind of figure out where our team is. And I think one quality that good coaches should have is to have enough flexibility within your schemes to adjust to maybe where your team happens to be, and not just be completely locked in to doing one thing because that's what you've always done. So I think we've kind of tried to reevaluate that a little bit and find the best things for us to do moving forward to have the most opportunities for success. But we did also have an opportunity for some guys to heal up and get some extra treatment. We're expecting TJ Robinson and Jalen Herring to be back this week. I think it'll probably be another week before Christian Williams is able to come back. He is able to get out and do some stuff for the trainers and move around a little bit, but I don't think that he'll be ready to go. Darian Felix looks like he's going to be back this week after missing the last game. And like I said, just a lot of guys that were kind of beat up a little bit. Hopefully they can get back to full speed here for the stretch. And a big message to our team is, hey, first kind of our open week kind of draws a line in the sand from our start of our season of 5 games, 4 of them really difficult versus good ranked teams and all that. And then the next 7 games are all conference games. And the message is if we can take the lessons that we learned, good and bad, from those first 5 weeks and apply it to the next 7 games, then we got a chance to have a good finish and a good season. If we let the negative things from those first 5 games creep in and continue to follow us and slow us down, then we won't. And ultimately, that's a decision that the players and leadership have to make. I have been pleased so far through the 5 practices that we've had during this open week, counting today. The way the guys have practiced and respond, energy and all that stuff has been good. But ultimately, we're going to have to play better, bottom line. Tulsa is a really good team. You may look at their record and think one thing, and you turn on the video and you go, okay, they got just about everybody back from a team that played for the championship last year. They also had a difficult stretch to open up the season, playing at Oklahoma State and at Ohio State, and they were competitive in both of those games, and then had a really nice win against a good Memphis team this past week. They returned a lot of starters. I know looking at their defensive depth chart, every player on the defense starter is a junior, senior, or graduate, and I think 9 of the 11 are seniors or graduates, and 2 of them are juniors. So they have a lot of guys back that have played a lot of ball, and they do a great job within their scheme, and really stingy in some of the things they do, especially against the run. They're going to be a really challenge there. And then talented offense. Their running back last week went over 3,000 yards for his career, and a really good player. They've got a couple backs there. Quarterback's a new starter, and played really well last week throwing the ball. And it'll be another big challenge, which is what you expect in this league week in and week out. So big message for us is to continue, stay committed to the process, and stay focused on getting better each and every day in practice. And ultimately, that's how it's going to translate to the game field and lead to the success that we all want. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Do you think, maybe because of the up-tempo offense, I don't know, that you almost have to have 2 starting quarterbacks ready to go? We've seen over the last few weeks, teams that don't have a guy come right in there and play, like Penn State last week, where Oklahoma, that guy comes in. I mean, you really almost have to have that there?
Yeah, and I think really what you're seeing, that you're probably recognizing, is in this new age of the transfer portal, it's very difficult to keep multiple quarterbacks that you feel like you can go play with and win with. I feel that we do. I feel that we're in a better position than maybe a few other schools out there because I feel like the guys that are behind Timmy that we can win with if needed. But yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you can look all over across the country, and I think you're going to continue to see that because it's so easy to move around. And when you have guys that know that they have the ability to start somewhere, they don't want to sit there. But yes, there's no doubt. And you play a long year, you're going to have guys that get hurt and have to be ready to go. And that's really been our message to our guys, to Cade and to Travis, is, hey, you got to be ready. And, there's no lifetime contracts to the starter. You can see what happened in some of these other games with highly touted starters don't play well and they get replaced and the other guy goes in there and wins. And at the end of the day, as a head coach, you got to do what's in the best interest of your team to win the game. And then also, you got to be ready in case injuries happen. I mean, look at our season last year, and we played a lot of different guys, some because we were trying to find some rhythm and find the right guy, and some because of injury. And so, our backup guys are continuing to work hard and kind of preparing for whenever their number's called, which will definitely be important.
Do you think the switch to up-tempo offenses mainly, as opposed to having a drop-back guy, has led to more injuries for quarterbacks?
I don't know. I hadn't really thought of it that way. I guess you could probably make a little bit of an argument that the quarterback run is more of is more in play whenever you're in spread and allowing the quarterbacks to run, so there may be more opportunity than old school I formation, handing off and drop back in the pocket with a couple bootlegs. So I think you could probably make an argument for that, but that's not something that I've really recognized or really thought too much about.
How important was this off week for Timmy? I mean, the last couple of weeks he's had to absorb a lot of the good and the bad.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it was good for everybody, but especially when you're dealing with a freshman quarterback. And there was some plays in that last game that he's really made in the other games. That if he would have made those throws, then the game could have been a little bit different towards the end of the game. So it all happened pretty fast for him there at the beginning of the season, getting thrown out there. But yeah, there's no doubt it's beneficial for everybody, but especially for your quarterback, and probably double, especially for a freshman quarterback to go in and kind of watch, and then also to have 2 weeks. Tulsa is a team defensively that's a little bit different schematically. And so you've got to be willing to do some different things. You're not going to be able to just line up and run the ball normal way or just throw the normal stuff. They play a lot of cloud coverage and different things. So I think it's a benefit for us to have 2 weeks because we're going to have to add some new concepts and some things maybe that we haven't done all year. And anytime you do that with a young quarterback, I think that's important for him to have time to rep those and feel comfortable with that.
They've given up a lot of yards on the back end. I think they're bottom 20 in the country in terms of passing yard allowed. Could this be a game for Timmy where he's just kind of licking his lips because he just had a safety went down too the other day?
Yeah, I think you got to be a little careful in that. Sometimes if you go look at the other side of it, the reason they're giving up a lot of yards is because people are throwing it all the time because they can't run it. And that's again. I mean, I don't want to over whatever, but they have a lot of guys around the box. Their nose guard's 380 pounds. They play with their hands really well. It's probably one of the best defensive fronts that we've seen. Really impressive, group. And then linebacker-wise, they have 2 overhangs on the outsides, 2 guys on the inside, 3 guys there. So they got 7 around the box, and they're basically daring you to have to throw the ball. And they mix up their zone coverage. I think where people have had some success is they play a lot of cloud coverage. So they drop 8, and it's about finding those windows and those zones. But it definitely was not a situation where maybe I look at that stat ahead of time, then you turn on the video and think, oh, well, these guys just aren't any good. It's not that. It's more of, well, you look at Memphis might have thrown it over 50 times last week. And it's not because you want to throw it, but it's because it's better than the alternative of just running into a brick wall there on the inside. But ultimately we got to find what gives us the best chance to win, and we'll make those decisions throughout the week. But really, what their defense makes you do is it makes you be very accurate in your passing game because there's just small windows, and that's kind of what some people have done so far this year.
When you look at what you thought you had going into the season, how you were going to play to now, and the lessons you've learned, the self-evaluation, what have you learned that you can build on that the games in that you've,
Well, one thing, it's not anything you can do about it now, but it's just in the off season, you can never have enough defensive players, you know. So I know in the off season we'll have pretty much our front seven will all be leaving. So we're probably going to be recruiting our first and second teams in our front seven in the off season. So, you know, whereas last year you're like, all right, we need one safety here, we need one guy here, we need one corner here. And then what happens, those two guys that you brought in, you're excited about, they tear ACLs in the first month, and you're right back to where you started. So that's probably the biggest lesson that I learned is you need more depth than you think that you do, and that won't be able to be addressed until the off season. But I think, you know, as far as what we've learned in the first 5 games, I mean, there's a lot of things offensively and defensively. It's pretty boring because it's about execution. I mean, really, that's what it is. I think, you know, the positive, I feel like we've made progress. I'm not sure if we've seen the progress, and some of that has to go to who you're playing. You know, our schedule. I mean, you can play other guys and have a lot of success, and maybe feel a little bit different. So you gotta. It's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems. There's a lot of truth in that. But I think overall, just the overall execution of what we're doing, the consistency of that. When you're playing really good teams, the margin for error is very, very small. And I think we've seen times where we've done it against good teams, but we haven't done it for 4 quarters. Is there some things offensively and defensively, scheme-wise, that we've seen that we've had to adjust to? Absolutely. It's not really anything I want to talk about right now for opponents and all that stuff. But yes, we've definitely made some adjustments. That's kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier. We've had to kind of adjust to maybe where we are, where this team is, and maybe what our strengths look like, and maybe some areas that we still have a lot of room to go and need to protect those areas a little bit. And really, that's all you can do at this point in the season.
so like you were saying with Tulsa, you look at the record, that must not be very
Right.
good. When you dig in, it's different. So when you look at you guys,
Right.
look at the record,
Yeah.
obviously you have to factor in the competition, so is
Well,
there a lot more that meets the eye?
Yeah, I think that, and I told the players this, the only thing that we've proven in the first 5 games is we're not good enough. We haven't played well enough to beat a top 25 team. That's really all we've proven, right? We haven't had opportunities to play any other teams yet. I think the reality is it's not anything to make excuses, but it is good to have some perspective. And I think sometimes these guys need to get perspective, because you sit there on your phone and you feel like you're, you know, whatever, 1-20 this season or something like that. And reality is we've been a 20-point underdog or more. I think the average point spread's been 24-point underdog in the 4 games that we lost. And so let's don't act like, you know, we were favored to win all these games and we just let everybody down and lost all these games we weren't supposed to. Now, at the same time, do we want to win every time we line up? Yes. Do we have a chance? I think we had a chance to win in 3 of those 4 losses. NC State, we didn't play well enough to even give ourselves a chance. But Florida and BYU and early on SMU was a 1-score game in the 3rd quarter. And so the message there is, even though, you know, these guys were favored heavily and all that, we still showed that we had the ability to compete. But we have to play very, very well. And kind of what I've said, again, the margin for error is very small when you play good teams that, you know, are a little bit further ahead than where you are at the time. I think what I told our players, I said, our season is not going to be determined by our first 5 games. It's really going to be determined, the success or lack of success of this season is going to be determined about the next 7 games, because we're going to be playing teams that we match up a little bit better than maybe the first 5 games. 4 of those 5 teams. And so, you know, right now all we know is we haven't played 4 quarters well enough to upset a team that's picked to win 24 points, where ESPN says you have a 4.9% chance to win. I mean, that's really all we know as of right now. But we're going to find out here over these next couple of weeks, where we play some teams that are, you know, it's a little bit better matchup for us. And ultimately, we have to use the lessons that we've learned in those first 5 games and be able to apply it. We can't let the negativity and the doubt and all the things that are natural that come from losing games continue to keep us from winning games that we have an opportunity to win. And that's really, you know, a coach's job, is to try to turn that, to challenge your guys, to improve. And really, it's just about being honest. That's all it is. It's not about throwing out some smoke screen. It's like reality. Why did we lose these games? Here's why. Here are the 8 plays that we didn't execute. And when you don't execute against a really good team, right, then it can get away from you really quickly. All right, but let's don't go out and act like, you know, we've played all these, you know, average teams and just, you know, have just stunk it up. I mean, we've played 2 quarters in a couple of games versus good teams where we've shown what we're capable of, but we have to be a lot more consistent. And I think that's kind of the overall word for our team is we've shown it in offense, defense, and special teams at different times, but we haven't been consistent enough, which is going to be required here in the next 7 games.
Was that something that you maybe had to tell the guys, like, look, after 5 games, we might be 1-4, but that's not a bad thing? Is that just
Yeah, well, I didn't say it wasn't a bad thing. I said our goal is to win every game. We're not happy about our schedule. We're not going to try to make ourselves feel better about or we're not happy about our record. We're not going to try to come up with excuses, but we do need to be realistic of what the situation is, right? We could have, named off a couple other teams, and we could have been 4-1 right now, and physically we might have been the same team, but mentally we probably would feel a little bit better of where we are, and so that's just kind of part of it. But ultimately, for us to get over the hump, we can't make excuses, and we can't, point at different things. We have to really realize that, hey, either it's going to make us better down the road, or we're going to allow these losses to create doubt and negative energy. But I mean, I'm definitely not happy with our record. I was hopeful that we would have a better record as of right now. But what I am pleased with is the way the guys have responded, right? You have like an event, and then you have the response, and then that leads to the outcome, right? The whole E plus R equals O type deal. So that's kind of the message of the guys. But I mean, for all the challenges and challenging games, the guys have continued to show up, and knock on wood, we've had like almost no issues off the field. I mean, all the things that you kind of look for when you're going through difficult seasons. I mean, the guys, I want success more for our guys than I want for myself or our coaching staff, just because I feel like if we can do the things required to win and have some success, I really feel like we can have a chance to have some momentum moving forward. But ultimately, we haven't done it yet. We're going to get opportunities to do it.
What could help with that momentum, you don't have to look at a travel itinerary for like a
Right.
3-week stretch. You
Yeah.
have an awful lot of travel on the front end there,
Yeah.
so
So,
when you up-
and that's something else I pointed out is, hey, 4 of the next 5 games are at home. We're going to get a chance to play at home, and let's go play well, and so yeah, it is definitely 4 of the next 5 games being at home will be good, especially after some long travel, long trips. But at the end of the day, the choice is ours. The choice is the coaching staff and the players. Are we going to allow what happened in the first 5 games to make us stronger, hungrier, to go out and play better? Or are we going to allow it to bring us down and lose confidence and just go through the motions? And ultimately, that's a decision everybody has to make, and it's a decision you have to make each and every day. And right now, I've been pleased with the decision the guys have made. They've shown up. We haven't had anybody late or missing meetings or had anybody come to see me wanting to leave. I mean, all the stuff that you're seeing around the country after week 4, 5, and 6, these guys have stuck together pretty good. And we just need to play better to be able to go out and get a victory. And hopefully we can get some momentum from that.
At SMU, Jimmy Horn had his first 100-yard game. I mean, we know he's talented. Mm-hmm. He emerged. So
yeah.
What do you see for him the rest of the way? Did you see, this is a guy you're going to be able to count on now?
Yeah, I was definitely a bright spot. And, Jimmy's been a guy since before he got here. And when he got here, we could see his athleticism and see his speed that he has. And, I think for him coming in as a true freshman into a room where a lot of those receivers have been here for a little while, learning the offense and figuring all that stuff out, I think early on, there was a little bit of learning process. And I think what you've seen the last couple of weeks is he's really kind of gotten comfortable within the offense. And then ultimately, it's us being able to find opportunities to get him the ball. And so far, when we've done that, he's done well with that. He's had a really good week of practice. And I think, as a coach in kind of year 2 here, you look at 2 things. You look at what can we do right now to win this game this week, and then you also have another perspective of can we develop our young players that are going to be able to help us in the years to come. And I think that's what you're seeing with Timmy and Jimmy and Jaron and a few of those guys. And so definitely I expect Jimmy to be a big part of our success moving forward here over these next 7 weeks. And I think he's worked himself into a position where he can go out and execute the offense and not just a guy you just put in for a play here or there. Really, to be able to be an every down player, you've got to know the system inside and out. And he's worked extremely hard. I think the open week, kind of like we were talking about with Timmy, having an open week for some of those younger guys going in is a good thing too for them.
And when you look at football at all levels, you see quarterbacks and receivers have this special connection, pro ball, college ball. So, Timmy and Jimmy, obviously their background's well known. Do you see that's something that could really develop here?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't hurt. I think there's a comfort level. They are running a different offense than they've been in, so both of them are kind of going through that stuff together. But they're both close and they have good chemistry. I think overall chemistry between quarterbacks and receivers, that's very important. I mean, I've seen that coaching wideouts my whole life, and really trust for that quarterback to be able to trust his wideout that he's going to be exactly where he's supposed to be at the right time, because sometimes the quarterback has to throw a ball without being able to really see the receiver come out of his break. And so I think that they've played together for a while and have that trust and chemistry is definitely something that excites me about the rest of this year and our future here offensively.